And yeah, like, we try to be nonchalant about things, but everybody loves the X-Men.
Yeah,
and it does feel
man.
wild to be part of, everything going on in Krakoa right now.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, I have an X-Men tattoo.
What?
Of Cyclops,
Really?
Cyclops as a cat. So
I'm a little jealous of that. That's hot,
so
man.
I've been training for this one.
He also has an Emma Frost tattoo, but he cannot show you that.
Ooh la la.
Men are so helpless against the mental powers of the White Queen.
Not on YouTube.
No. Too hot for TV. Hey there, welcome all Comics Access. You know it is Joe the Beast McCoy. The sun is shining, the weather is sweet. I am at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland, and this is going to be a momentous day. I am going to be talking with Steve Orlando and Steve Foxe about their epic work on the iconic Marauders #1 and the XMen 92. And of course, I'm going to do a little bit of shopping and explore this fantabulous comic book shop. Let's go. All right, welcome all Comics Access. I am here with two amazing, legendary comic book writers. Please introduce yourself, gentlemen.
I'm Steve Orlando, writers of all sorts of things: Wonder Woman, Midnighter, Martian Manhunter, and currently Marauders in the X-Men office at Marvel.
Awesome.
And I'm Steve Foxe, writer of X-Men 92, House of 92 for Marvel Comics, and co-writer with Steve of Party and Prey and Rainbow Bridge from Aftershock, and the Spider-Ham graphic novels from Scholastic.
Excellent. So I gotta ask, I know you folks are fans of the genre of X-Men. How did it feel when you got that call you were working on the X-Men?
I mean, I thought I was being pranked
You gotta be kidding me.
because I got a chance to not just write the X-Men, but write the 90s version of the X-Men.
The best version.
I mean, foundational for my entire life.
Yes, same here.
So I mean, I really thought it was like someone pulling my leg, but he pulled my leg right into a 5-issue miniseries. So I will take that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have as good of a joke as Fox, but similarly, it's a dream. I like to talk about that. I came up on X-Men, like the VHS that I was renting from Video King endlessly. I wore that thing the out from the Pride of the X-Men pilot, actually.
Yes.
And then the arcade game, and then the trading cards, and then I got into the comics in the late 90s because we got a comic store in my town. Deep in it. In fact, the people that were on X-Men at the time became my mentors in comics.
Really?
And, to this day, in fact. So to be working on it now, it feels like a great full circle moment. And yeah, we try to be nonchalant about things, but everybody loves the X-Men.
Yeah,
and it does
absolutely,
feel
man.
wild to be part of, everything going on in Krakoa right now.
Yeah, awesome.
I mean, I have an X-Men tattoo.
What?
Of Cyclops as a cat. So
I'm a little jealous of that. That's hot,
so
man.
I've been training for this one.
He also has an Emma Frost tattoo, but he cannot show you that.
Ooh la
on
la.
Men are so helpless against the mental powers of the White Queen.
Not on YouTube.
No. Too hot for TV. That's awesome. I have to compliment both of you gentlemen. You caught the storylines and a whole nother twist and turn, which was so awesome, man. So like for the Marauders, I love like the mystery aspect. Like even the powered up fruit thing was like, I was like, oh dude, that's like a hidden gem right there. The biggest thing I have to ask you, so you had those classic iconic characters like Psylocke, Bishop, and Kate Pride. How did it feel incorporating them along with the newer wave of members?
I mean, to me, that's kind of always the secret sauce of X-Men. You have some of your standard bearers, and then you have some from a variety of generations. So honestly, that felt very natural to me. You know, I was a guy, I loved the headliners, of course, but I was also a huge fan of characters like Marrow, characters like Caliban. Yeah. And to me, that's sort of the joy of, it's the joy of comics in general, but it's the joy of X-Men specifically where, yeah, if someone can just go through an issue. That was Caliban for me. I was like, who is this guy? I don't really know his deal, but he seems really cool. And, you know, and then you go and track down their other appearances and things like that. So to me, especially, you know, with something like Krakoa that is so generational, it just feels natural, right? Like you want to have a team that, you know, in a marketing sense appeals to many people, but in a character sense, like that's how you build a pseudo family. That's how you build a team unit, a crew unit, because you need people who need to learn. You need people who can teach, like, and that's what happens when you have something that is at this point. I mean, even in storyline, people like Charles and Magneto have been around since the 40s. Yeah. And then you have people that have just, you know, entered and stepped into the Krakoan moment today, like like Somnus, in
Cassandra.
Cassandra's been around for a little bit, yeah, but you know she's also quite evil. Yeah. Tempo. I mean, all this new generation coming up in New Mutants, these are things that we want to push forward.
Absolutely.
You know, so it felt natural to me.
Very cool. And for you, kind sir, so you had, Trask. You had the Sentinels. You had that classic. I almost say blue team, but you know, technically animated series. How was that experience? Because you definitely put a little bit of twist in there as well.
Yeah, I had the fun task of writing something set in this iconic 1992 version of the X-Men while also adapting the current era with Krakoa and everything Jonathan Hickman and other creators like Steve have contributed to the line.
Nice.
But the rule I set for myself to really make this book feel distinct was that everything needed to be pulled from the late 80s and 90s. So with something like Orcus, which is a new invention, you know, Orcus was created in 2019. Instead of having these brand new characters, I replaced them with characters like Trask, Lady Deathstrike, Donald Pierce, just for that extra bit of nostalgia and pop. And, you know, if this had happened in 1992, these are the kind of faces we would see opposing the mutants. And I also, you know, it's so fun to get to channel these classic versions of the characters. Like, this is Rogue at her most Southern, Gambit at his most Cajun, Storm at her most bombastic. It was just a big trip, and especially for someone like me who was raised on the cartoons, hearing, you know, Cal Dodd's voice in my head while I write.
Cyclops! I know how you feel about it, Wolverine, but...
hearing Lenore Zan's voice in my head while I write, it's nice to get to channel that into the book.
That's awesome, man. So I have to ask a magic question, because, you know, this was a challenge for me. What's each of you gentlemen's favorite X-Men character?
Oh, that's easy for me. It's Emma Frost. Yeah, nice. Emma Frost and Dazzler.
Dazzler. I love that.
Well, like my fellow Steve here, Pride of the X-Men was my first entry into the characters. And, you know, of course, Dazzler and Emma both play bigger roles in that than they ever did in the animated series. So that really kind of imprinted on me at a young age. And then I came of age around the time of New X-Men when Emma became like a staple of the line. So she's always going to have a huge impact on me. And I just like Dazzler because I'm gay.
Don't you just love a good Barbie?
Leave this one to the Dazzler.
Hey, I respect that, bro.
Sometimes it's simple.
I like Dazzler because I'm a big Beast guy, so hey.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, bro.
That miniseries, oh my. I do also love Dazzler. Fox is correct. But the heartfelt answer has got to be Colossus.
You're right, Ivan.
What is it with these Americans? They are very strange people.
Like he was my guy in the arcade game.
Yes.
But I also just think like it's such a simple, cool look. He's like he has the great dichotomy of being this like bruiser guy who's also secretly an artist at heart.
Yep.
So I've always and you know, for me, there's also the time when he was gone for so long because of his heroic sacrifice and the legacy of Iris. So he's always been a big character for me. And I haven't actually worked with him yet, so it's on the list. But as far as favorites go, it's got to be him.
Yeah, dude, great answers. I know for me, it moved in stages. When I played the arcade game when I was a kid, Nightcrawler was always my go-to. When I was
the best spread.
Yeah, dude, he was so cool moving across the screen. I was in love with teleportation But when I watched the series, I was a big Gambit guy.
Sure.
Like Gambit was just so smooth, ladies man. His powers was so different, man.
First, we charged the card.
Yes, bro. It was like unbelievable. I was just, the series was so good, bro.
The name is Gambit. Remember it.
So good. Also, too, the most important question I want to ask: what inspired you, gentlemen, to get started in the comic book field and to keep going?
Inspired to get going is a better answer, because keep going is that bills keep going.
Yeah,
so
I hear that.
That's a very adult answer. No, I mean, my earliest stuff that I collected and got into as far as lore goes was always superhero stuff. My father was a baseball memorabilia salesman, but I hate baseball. So I would be getting the non-sports cards at all these shows, and I barely knew who these people were. I just knew that they looked awesome.
Yeah.
This is also why, folks think that I'm a deep cut writer, but it's just because all the characters were of the same level of importance to me, because I didn't know who any of them were at the start. So I didn't know that Mojo 2, the sexy version, was not as big a deal as Mojo 1 or, needless to say, Magneto or Sinister or things like that.
Yeah, you built it over time.
Correct. So I love the depth of the worlds. I love how wild the types of stories you can tell are. I love how colorful they are, and that's just always been me. Whether it was the deep cuts into DC when I was over there,
yep,
or of course where we are now in Krakoa, but Marvel in general. I am a corner man for Marvel's Golden Age characters. Probably I love the All Winter Squad. I love the Invaders, Liberty Legion. I won't go deeper.
Oh man,
but I just love. I love that there's no end to what you can learn and explore in a comics world, and that's always been really appealing to me.
That's excellent. How about for you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my answer is pretty similar, because Steve and I are both kids of the late 80s, and for me, a huge part was the Toy Biz action figures.
Mutant apprehended! Wanna mix it up, big boy? My adamantium claws will get rolled back! I've always had trouble with man.
Just collecting all the toys, because just like Steve said, I would get a figure of Bonebreaker or Comcast or whoever, or Tusk, and to a kid, that means Tusk is just as cool as Gambit.
Absolutely, man.
Tusk also is just as cool.
Tusk is very cool. All 4 of the lines he's had, but still, but it kind of evens out the playing field, and there is that aspect of you can always dig deeper, you can always find more. These characters are so flexible.
Yeah.
And then the other thing for me is, at the turn of the century, Grant Morrison and Frank Whiteley, when they took over New X-Men, that really blew my mind, and it led me back to all the Vertigo books.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was a kind of a special alchemy in seeing that the X-Men were so flexible, and also discovering this very literary, very adult line of comics that hit at just the right age for me to realize that comics can do anything at all, and that really has driven a lot of my interest in the medium.
That's excellent. That means a lot to hear that from you, gentlemen, because it helps people like myself who've been longtime fans. I've been collecting comics since early 90s. X-Men was always my favorite team because they were so different, very relatable.
Yeah.
And I mean, if any kid felt like an outcast, it's that's my squad. You know?
Absolutely.
Because Avengers had their persona. If you're I was in the DC too. Justice League had their persona, but X-Men was just that sweet spot.
Well, I think something the X-Men have too that is no other team has consistently is that the X-Men almost always have a younger point of view character.
Yep.
Whether that's Kitty Pryde or Marrow or Jubilee, it helps bring you into their world. So if you're a younger reader or a younger viewer, you have an automatic in to see these characters who are larger than life, and you don't always get that with other teams. So I think that really popped for a whole generation.
You get that.
Well
the
said.
Thing is Gotham, where there's always there's a new sidekick because with every generation.
Yeah.
Everybody has a Robin.
It's forever
Tim Drake
grown.
for me,
I respect that. Tim was a beast, bro.
So but it's a similar thing, Why do you think Jubilee and Tim Drake dated in DC versus Marvel?
Yeah. No one, I didn't see it coming, but when it happened, I was like, oh.
Made a certain kind of sense. Also, if you remember, Jubilee's first color scheme was the exact same as Robin's for about 10 issues before they gave her own look.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you remind me of that. I'm gonna definitely look that up when I get home.
She could have been dating Connor, or Tim could have been dating Connor too.
Anyone can date anyone. Love is love.
You love me? Say it. Mean it.
It would have been Ben Reilly though in the crossover. But
This is why I hold the mic.
He does his opinion matters.
Your opinion is valid.
Someone had to.
Wait, and the magic question, one more question before I go. So how did it feel to meet another fellow Steve? Like, what was that like?
You can start this one.
What kind of rapping name is Steve?
You interviewing me for Undertow, right? Like, I mean, how did we actually meet? Yeah, well, we talk basically every day because both of our boyfriends have real jobs.
Okay.
So like,
but what you do matters.
yes, but there's no office, right? So our office is our phone. But I think you interviewed me for Undertow. I don't actually remember how we.
Yeah, well, so I've kind of worn every hat in the industry. I used to work in press. I was an in-house editor for many years. So I've kind of done everything. And I did meet Steve Orlando interviewing him for Virgil, one of his Image Comics releases.
Okay.
And Midnighter, because they came out around the same time.
Yep, I remember that.
And we just hit it off. And actually, we're both Stephen Andrews, too, our middle name. So
Dude,
here's
this is like destiny.
secret identity reveal here. Yeah, we just hit it off, and over the years, we had so many shared interests, so many shared references, and now we've gotten to write a bunch of books together, and now we both get to join the X line at the same time, which is very fun.
Dude, that's epic, man.
Oh yeah. And you'll be seeing more from Fox in the X-Men world. So
Okay.
There's announcements to come.
You wouldn't understand. It's a secret.
All right. I know.
Somewhere, sometime.
Am I talking about the rest of X-Men 92? Maybe, but maybe not. We'll see.
Keep him on the edge of your seat. I like that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. This is Joe the Beast McCoy. I want to say you do matter. You're awesome. Don't give up. Rise up and geek on.
Don't worry about us, Dingo. We'll make sure we can. Rock and roll, X-Fools!